we're out here. This is the field where the magic happens.
Benning Bites with Damon Benning. Benning Bites with Damon Benning.
It's another episode of Benning Bites. Appreciate you fine people for being here with me. Heck of a show today. You can catch us on AM 590, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln at 9. You can get us on YouTube, Spotify, Twitch, Facebook. We are here. Love that this segment is sponsored by Hurrdat Sports. Make sure you go and get registered and enter the promo code Benning. BENNING. Hurrdat Fantasy Sports. Great website. Pretty easy to use. And if you're highly competitive and you like daily fantasy, a little higher, a little lower, Hurrdat Sports Fantasy. It's got you covered. Like a spirited show today. A lot to catch up on from Friday. And one of the things I think is interesting, we got into this. You know, we always want our pound of flesh and you know, the 50-yard line, the handshake, all of that stuff. A lot of it's fake outrage, right? We need something to be upset about. We're not playing the way that we wanted to. We lost 9 out of 10 to Iowa, and I get all that. But I don't want to lose sight of a couple things. Number one, those are the kinds of things that you talk about when you're not winning football games. And Nebraska's got to do a better job of winning football games. You know, I think if you ask Coach Rhule, he'd tell you, hey, listen, yeah, my captains need to be shaking hands. Like, that's just part of the deal. You know, not be a good teammate, but sportsmanship, right, before the game. Is it something to be upset about? Yeah, I don't know. Didn't really move my needle real time, but I agree. Do the right thing. Just shake hands. As far as the pregame stuff, I don't know. It's for whatever the reason, and it's not just Nebraska. It's like it's become a big deal, and I don't really understand why. Somebody can probably explain it to me. But in an empty stadium, when no one had arrived yet, which was a lot like USC as well, except they actually had probably 5 or 6 players out there really, really early. Iowa didn't have any, so that wasn't Iowa's players being ill-willed or anything like that. Just were stipulations to not be on the Tiger Hawk. So it was what it was. But, you know, now I'm mad at myself for spending 3 minutes and talking about it. But it was only to say those are the things that you talk about when you're not winning games. And like I said, Nebraska's got to do a better job of winning games. And I thought about something, considering we're still on that we want our pound of flesh thing. And I say this a lot, and I got it. You know, I always talk about DJ, where we talk about not having certain lives without people in it. And there's this thing that this narrative that has gone around the last handful of weeks about, well, the seniors this and a losing mentality that. And listen, you don't get this. You don't get this life, at least part of it, without those seniors in it. So I never understood that. And I didn't roll my eyes either when Coach Rhule wanted to thank the seniors, because they gave a foundation in order to get close, to build on. You don't help set the culture in terms of being other-centered and trying to be more competitive and wanting those guys to be the ones to break through, to free them up later on as they try to, you know, be productive in whatever arena they choose. You don't build that kind of foundation. The defense isn't what it was a year ago without those older guys buying in. You don't put yourselves in positions to win the amount of games that they did this year without those guys helping put you in position. Was it the end-all, be-all? No, but if you got to take the good with the bad. And, you know, Nebraska wins 2 more games, which they easily could have. You win 2 more games in which you inexplicably let them get away. We're not even having this conversation. It's gosh, you know what? I could totally see how you and why you wanted to build it this way. You didn't want to just gut everything and start from the portal, and you wanted to make sure that you were in the 500-mile radius recruiting, and you wanted to recruit the state of Nebraska, and you did that. And so I think part of the reason he says things like, I just want to say thank you, and I feel bad for the seniors or whatever, because they didn't have to choose him. You know, they could have done something else or tried to go do it someplace else or whatever, right? But there's just something about his personality that wants to give you every opportunity to succeed and kind of figure it out yourself. And I think that's what happened. And I don't apologize for people feeling the way that they do about wanting a different mindset, because I understand that too. Right, you wanted the framework and an infrastructure, and you needed to give yourself a chance. The old guys did that. This is not a league in which you win with a lot of inexperienced guys, and I think that's part of it. Would they have liked to have gotten over the hump in some of those games emotionally? I mean, you've led in 12 of the 20 games so far, or 12 of 20 games so far in Coach Rhule's tenure. In the fourth quarter, like at some point, you have to get over that hump. And part of the buy-in and building it and doing it this way, the way that Coach Rhule wanted to, was, I think it's twofold. Number one, it was real transactional in Charlotte, and I think there was some. I wouldn't call it overcorrecting as much as, that's on his heart, right? You don't want to be that transactional. You want to build and establish and develop relationships. And then, we got the whole, hey, I've talked to this guy that had this job and this guy that had this job, and I talked to Coach Osborne, and I talked to some of the people around the state. And I think he wanted to build it for the long haul. And the pruning and the chafing process was part of it. And it was painful, right? It clearly was painful. But I think he did it that way for a reason, and I think there's value in it. But I will tell you this, and he told us this via the presser, and I think this is his personality. He's let you know he'll explore all options. And he explored a couple, and they didn't yield the results that he wanted, so he'll move on to the next thing. And as a highly, highly competitive person, you're going to get this bloodletting moment. By bloodletting, right? It's therapeutic to get some of that other blood out. And it's not just players. It could be it could be his ability to want to stay in the moment while being competitive. He won't leave any stone unturned. So let's not be shocked if we get a little bit of turnover. Even with some guys that you didn't think would be available or leaving, they just might. But just keep telling yourself, We've tried it the other way. Now let's see what happens this way. It's another episode of Benning Bites.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.